All right, everybody. Hi, welcome to another episode of The Current Status. My name is Holly Lehman. You can find me on Twitter at Lehman__Holly. I am here joined by two of my very dear friends. Teresa, if you want to introduce yourself.
Sure. So my name's Teresa Miller, and you can find me on Twitter at 24/7 IT Connect. Also looking forward to the show. It's been a little while since I've seen and spoken with Simon, so I'm excited to hear what he has to share today. And so we'll just pass it over to Simon for a little intro.
Sure, yeah. So for folks that don't know me, which is very, very possible, my name's Simon. I look after one of the teams inside of Microsoft that looks after Microsoft Endpoint Manager, which you may know as Intune or Configuration Manager. At Ignite last year, not the one that just happened, we changed the name of the product over to Microsoft Endpoint Manager, which was really us bringing together Configuration Manager and Intune into one single product for customers that basically manages their iOS, Android, Windows, Mac OS devices, their ruggedized Android devices, all in one single place, and helps them to manage those devices, stay secure wherever those devices are. So that's what I do.
Well, Simon, thank you so much for joining us today. I have so much that I want to dig into with you. When I was on your team, it was Intune and SCCM. It was very divided, and it was just kind of two worlds. And I would love for you, just as a starting point to get everybody level set, talk to us about the evolvement of how these two pieces of, security kind of came together, and now they're in this beautiful package that are really, especially now, we think about homeschooling and work from home, and it's become this beautiful package of security for laptops, devices, you name it. So talk to us about the evolvement and evolution of that maturity.
Yeah, so I think we have been around for a really long time.
25 plus years for SCCM.
Yeah.
That is a long time.
It's a long time. And there's a lot of members of the team that have been working on it for that long. And that's no small thing. It means that we have folks on the team that wrote the original code that shipped in SMS1 and SMS 1.2, SMS 2, SMS 2003. What that really means for customers is that the people that are building the code today have been through all of the pain from the past 20 years of managing so many different transformations that have gone through, like the transformation from when we moved from 16-bit apps on Windows to 32-bit apps on Windows, the transformations that happened when we moved from script-based installation over to MSI-based installation on Windows. And then they've taken that same knowledge onto managing Windows 10 platforms and the ability to be able to do things like MSIX deployments. So it's exactly that same piece of knowledge that's kind of threaded all the way through. But I think over the course of certainly the past 5 years, we've seen this major shift in the world where everything has moved from on-premises technology to the idea of the intelligent edge and the intelligent cloud, where certain parts of your infrastructure probably still have a real reason to be on premises. We're talking about Windows 32 apps here where you have to shift tens of gigabytes of data across a wire, and that doesn't always work going across the internet. Like, think of the situations that we had pre-COVID where you might have 10,000 people in an office or in a campus, and that campus would have an internet connection, and so all of those 10,000 people will be sharing that one internet connection. In order to be able to efficiently deploy software, you need distribution points. You need to be able to send something down to one place and have it replicate out to others, which are problems that the config team solved a long, long time ago. So that idea of having that intelligent edge connected to an intelligent cloud means that we can really do all of this cool, new, amazing stuff that we can only do at cloud scale. Things like being able to use machine learning and cognitive services to be able to look at data and work out what are the patterns of user behavior. We can attach those two things together with the idea of the intelligent cloud and the intelligent edge. And that really is where we've gone to with Endpoint Manager. And the fascinating thing is that over the course of the past 5 years, the team developed, frankly, just some of the best knowledge in the industry about how to build massively scalable cloud services. I mean, the size of our service is completely kind of confidential. We release some kind of numbers where we do Ignite and we do some public things, but I'm blown away by the scale of the service that we're managing on a daily basis now. I think we know and we have published that we've got over 200 million managed endpoints inside of Intune. The number is frankly way beyond that at this point. The situation that has occurred with COVID and with everybody needing to work from home over the course of the past forever.
Let's not really count.
So
Yeah.
I know, right?
There was a point where it was like 20 days. Now it's like many hundred. I think if we hadn't had already proven out our ability to build at that kind of scale, the past few months would have been incredibly trying. As they are, we've done pretty well, actually. We've scaled really, really well. We're pleased with the way that we're scaling. And we are managing so many in excess of that 200 million that it's kind of crazy at this point.
That's awesome. So one of the things that I recall about Intune, I know this has all changed, but moving forward to the future here, like about Intune, I think you guys were starting, you didn't even have to have, it doesn't have to be a Windows device, for example.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So you've gotten past that, right? Where it can be just about any device, which is huge for this work from home phase we're in.
Yeah, actually, you're absolutely right. So we can and do manage iOS, Android, Mac OS, and Windows devices. Actually, we manage multiple millions, all of those platforms. When you look at what we are managing through Endpoint Manager, we manage more Windows devices than we do anything else, because there are frankly more Windows devices being used in the enterprise for work than there are any other types of devices. However, there are millions and millions of those other device types, and they're performing very, very critical functions for folks. So the functions kind of vary depending on different platforms. We see a lot of iOS and Android being used, a lot of iOS being used in places like healthcare. We see a lot of Android being used in retail. Android is particularly awesome at ruggedized devices. So, when you go into your favorite big box retailer, there'll be somebody there that is like scanning with a handheld device the items as they're putting them on the shelf. That's a ruggedized device that we manage through Intune. And in that case, we're managing things very, very carefully on that device. It's very locked down. It only has a limited set of functions, but it also has very specialized hardware. And we're able to manage those types of devices. Another really interesting example there is there's a device manufacturer that makes a device called a RealWear device. And these are super, super cool. They're like headsets that somebody puts on. And that headset then allows them to have a Teams conversation with an operator on the other end who can be an expert in the thing that person that's wearing the headset needs to work with. So, for example, the person that's wearing that device might be a doctor who is performing surgery. They may not be an expert in the particular type of surgery that they're about to perform, but they might well be very, very, very well qualified. But now the best expert in the world can connect to them completely hands-free whilst they are working on that particular piece of surgery. And they can see everything that the surgeon is seeing that's operating. And the surgeon gets real-time feedback from the expert that they've called in for the assistance.
So what are those called?
They're called RealWear devices. There's actually a few manufacturers that provide the same thing.
And so you can secure the communication over that as well as the device.
Yep.
Wow.
That's absolutely amazing. I remember when we were first thinking about how to manage Mac with Intune, and to see where we've come now, it's quite astonishing. And when we think about, you mentioned about all of the Windows devices that we're currently managing with Intune. Brad talked a lot about that on the Ignite sessions. Are there any really big top of minds that you have coming out of Ignite? There were so many sessions and it was run so differently this year that maybe somebody missed it. If somebody were to say, hey, Simon, I missed this one, episode with Brad Anderson, what would you say would be the highlighted nuance and change and the bright shiny star within Endpoint Manager right now?
Oh, that's so difficult because there's so many people that have worked
I only caught one, and I heard three bombs drop that were awesome. So I just wanted to pick your brain and see, what was really top of mind for you with all the customers that you're working with day in and day out. You really know what's top of mind for what the customers want to hear about. So I just thought I would pick your brain. Even if it's the top three, what would you say some of the top announcements are for you?
So I think that I'm going to take that question in two ways. First one is like, what are the things that I think are resonating super well with customers that we announced at Ignite? I would say that they are endpoint analytics, which gives our customers the ability to see things like how well are the desktops performing from an end user point of view. Like, are the users having a good experience on those PCs? Are they having a good boot time? What's slowing that boot time down? Is it group policy? Is it the fact that they don't have they don't have SSDs in those devices? Like, it gives them that level of insight. I would say that our security management console inside of Endpoint Manager is probably the next or one of the top three delightful features that we delivered that came out of Ignite. The security management console allows an administrator to be able to look at the security posture of their organization across all those platforms, iOS, Android, Mac OS, and it allows them to be able to see how are they managing Defender, how are they managing Defender ATP, how are they managing BitLocker, how are they managing compliance policies, all from one single console. And because of something that we released quite a while ago, I think we released it back in February, we released something called Tenant Attached. And that lets you take your config environment, attach it to Intune, and without the devices being internet connected, we can get control and information from the endpoints that you want to provide that for. And that means that through the security admin console, you can actually, say, configure Defender on the Windows servers inside of your organization, which is pretty awesome. Like, that's the kind of value that can be provided by having the intelligent edge talking to the intelligent cloud. And then I think that the third one of the top three is something.
It's like the chips. You can't just eat one.
Yeah.
All right.
The third of the top three, I would say it's this little thing we've been working on called Microsoft Tunnel, which is our own first-party VPN technology built into Intune for iOS and Android.
Now, do you think part of that is because of COVID? Like, I only ask, I could be totally wrong on this, but I remember when COVID first happened, you and Brad doing an endpoint zone all about how you had to amp up the ability to VPN because suddenly everybody realized we don't have the capabilities now needed because of all the people working from home and the kids working from home using school devices. And so you've got all these people now trying. And I'm just wondering, did the chicken come from the egg? Like, is that how the whole thing started? Or was this way before COVID? Or maybe it's been amped up now more so because of COVID? Just curious.
It's kind of both. Like, it's Microsoft Tunnel, I would not describe it as a chicken-sized egg. It's more like a dinosaur-sized egg. Like, it's huge.
Okay.
It's really to enable all of those iOS and Android devices to touch back to those on-prem things that have been around for a long time. It's been a big ask from customers for a real long time. Okay. We just decided that we really had to tackle it, and COVID kind of added a bit of impetus to that, but we had already started the work pre-COVID. Right. Awesome. However, you kind of lead me to that extra thing that I wanted to talk about. The three delighters from Ignite for me that we've seen resonate with customers were Tunnel, were SecAdmin, were Endpoint Analytics. But what we have been seeing is so many customers needing to essentially turn on what we're beginning to call the big three, which is Cloud Management Gateway, Tenant Attached, and Co-Management. Because those three things enable any PC that has gone home from a config-man managed environment to suddenly be managed at home. And by moving through that kind of that three-pronged approach of moving to Cloud Management Gateway, then moving to Tenant Attached, and then moving to Co-Management, it starts to take all of that load off of VPNs inside of an organization. And quite honestly, when those first couple of weeks when COVID really hit, the phones were ringing off the hook in the Fast Track Center. We had all of our customer experience folks basically helping customers get deployed with Cloud Management Gateway, because we just had massive demand. And that has helped, has kind of made the service grow really fast in a really, really short space of time.
Well, I think that's amazing. I mean, there's been so many changes that are happening right now. And, you know, Brad would always talk about trusted by IT, loved by end users. And I never truly understood what that meant until my daughter came home with a device from school. And I was unable to, of course, add a device, my printer, to her managed device. And I thought, oh, okay, now I'm on the other end of this, and now I get it. Because it was simple. My daughter logs in, she knows her credentials, it's no big deal. But immediately when a mom goes and tries to add in, you know, something as simple as a printer, no, it's not an option. And it was done in a very seamless way where it was just like, oh, not an option. And I can now see where Brad's coming from, where my daughter is in a very safe scenario, bringing home this laptop. It is managed. I mean, who knows? We're going to hope that it's managed with Intune or SCCM. But at the end of the day, it does create this very sense of safe security when what these devices are that you're bringing home. So it's really great to see all of the transition and maturity that's come over the last few years. So are you seeing any trends or themes from a technical feedback side of it? You know, that we're constantly getting feedback with what you do, just out of curiosity.
Yeah, one of the things that we had a lot of feedback on really quickly from customers was that there were some real challenges around managing Windows Home SKU devices particularly. So for folks that maybe are not familiar, you can buy Windows in a number of different SKUs. If you go into your favorite big box retailer and pick up a brand new PC, there's a really good chance it's going to come with Home Edition. The Home Edition has, by default, I mean, it's intended for home use, has less management capability than a Pro device, and Pro costs more if you're going to go buy it. And the same is true with an enterprise device, which can only be purchased through an enterprise agreement with Microsoft. So we ended up with quite a lot of these home PCs these kind of home PCs that people had at home already, where people were trying to use them as an enterprise device. And I think that they just, like, user experience, they expected Windows to be Windows. And yet there's things there that don't work in the same way for really good reason. When you fully enroll a Pro or an enterprise PC, because they are intended for business, they are not intended to have tons of personal data on them. So we want to have a line in the sand to protect user privacy there. Of course, you have an issue like the pandemic start, and maybe that line blurs a bit, but maybe it doesn't. It all depends on the person's viewpoint, the individual's viewpoint that's using the PC, and also the organization's viewpoint. So we took a lot of feedback very quickly around things that maybe we needed to do better around the management of that. And I think we're beginning to address some of those things as well. Because of the things that we need to change there, there's no quick fixes, but we're looking at those now.
So in terms of, well, there's a couple of things that are top of mind for me. So one, if I don't have a management system in place for those devices when people are remote, you can just do a Google search. The ransomware attacks and the security breaches have been excessive in the last 6 months. So that has me wondering, if I'm an enterprise that gets wise and leverages the Microsoft solutions to go ahead and start enrolling devices and protecting those devices, is there any monitoring or metrics that they can see that actually helps them understand what they have been protected from?
Yes, there is. So they show up in, a well-protected PC is going to have anti-malware software on there. A very well-protected PC is going to have EDR software on there to protect against advanced persistent threats as well. So those two things are going to provide that kind of signal back into the IT department. I think that the piece that we have done really, really well through the security admin console in Endpoint Manager is bring all that signal into one single place. So I can see from the security admin center, what's the current posture of my machines? Have any of them been breached? Have any of them been breached by a threat which hasn't been noticed because of some virus signature, but has it been noticed because of the activities that have taken place on that device? And that's going to be passed through back to me, along with any information and reporting about critical vulnerabilities that could be exploited on those devices. And so that signal gives me something to do to take action. But what we've done inside of the Security Admin Center is actually made it so that you can take action very, very quickly. And that's that kind of shutting down the time between detection and remediation really starts to make a difference.
Yeah, I could see that. I'm glad that there is some level of analytics behind that, or at least reporting, because I think people need to understand the success in that too, especially if they did experience a breach. So it's good to hear that that's an option. Holly, you looked like you had perhaps a question.
Sorry. So I actually have two. So based on the role that I'm in now, I'm seeing a lot of our customers obviously go, off on-prem, and they're going more to cloud. They're doing a lift and shift, and they're migrating quicker and faster because of where we're at. I'm just curious. Yes, I understand that we now have this endpoint management scenario, but for those customers that were strictly configuration manager, are you seeing a huge shift over to Intune, or a shift into co-management, or a shift into endpoint, or are people just kind of where they have been? Or are you seeing a trend of people changing the way that they're managing their devices?
Yes, we are. I mean, it's been really dramatic. Quite frankly, at this point, to be very polarizing about it, if a customer hasn't connected their configuration manager to Intune, they are behind the curve. We have tens of thousands of customers and millions of endpoints that are being managed through co-management and Tenant Attached, and that it's really the journey that we're seeing customers go down. They have turned on Cloud Management Gateway. It's a super lightweight thing. You just have to deploy a role into Azure, and then it's up and running. And so we've seen customers do that very, very quickly. As soon as they've done that, they can manage those endpoints wherever they go, whether they're on the internet, whether they're on premises. But then we've seen them move very quickly to Tenant Attached and co-management, because by getting to the co-management stage, not only can they manage them on the internet, but they can manage things like Windows Update on the internet. And that's been a very big thing. Obviously, a month after we all kind of went home to work from home from COVID, we had Patch Tuesday. Great big pile of patches were released. It's one of the biggest Patch Tuesdays we've actually ever had. And so one of our big concerns as a team was, how do we make sure that customers are able to receive those patches? The problem that we initially saw customers get into there was they were doing forced tunnel VPN traffic, which meant that everything had to go back to on-premises no matter what. And then would kind of go back to on-premises and then go back out to the internet. What we thought there was, well, Windows Update is on the internet. They just need to go straight to Windows Update to get to it. The problem is that a config managed device expects to be able to talk to a WSUS server on its local network. So it's not going to talk to the internet version, because that doesn't give the IT admin control. However, if they get to co-management, they can start to take advantage of WUFB, Windows Update for Business. And at that point, suddenly the internet is the place where they are getting their updates from. They have lifted all of that traffic off of their VPN, and that gives them more VPN traffic for things that maybe they do have to send back over, like files going back to a file server, or video traffic, or something that they're trying to send.
I think that's amazing to see all of the transformation. And looking at the time, we've got about 4 minutes. So I just wanted to pick your brain, since you have been with Intune since, almost day one of its growth and where you're at now. If you were to end the call with for you, what is the most top of mind, biggest success? What would you say it's been in this journey?
You mean for Intune or that? What's been our most successful thing?
I'm picking your brain, Simon.
That's tricky. We've done so many things that have been pretty technically amazing. I think that the biggest one though is still it's the shift over to Azure.
I like that answer.
Yeah,
it is. Well, it is a good answer. I don't work for Microsoft.
So much. It's fascinating because I'm an IT geek at heart. I've run data centers. I was a server guy. I was a endpoint guy. I've done a bunch of stuff. And it's really fascinating to have been with the team and watched through that journey, because we started off being built with Intune being built on a service called GFS, which was at the time the biggest thing that Microsoft ran. It's what ran Windows Update. It was like literally the biggest cloud service in the world. And yet we started to very quickly encounter the edges of that platform. And Azure came along, and we kind of very, very cleverly took the decision to migrate everything over to Azure. And we run entirely as microservices in almost entirely like microservices inside of Azure at the moment. There's a couple of things that are a bit legacy that we have to still finish migrating, but for the very kind of most part, we're over there. And we're now one of the highest consumers of Azure internally. Interestingly, across the course of COVID, Teams overtook us, but we're pretty high up there in terms of the amount of Azure compute that we're using. And that has led to us having some really fantastic engineers who just know how to build massively scalable services on Azure. And I don't think that the two things would be where they are without each other. We think there's so much that Azure has learned from having first-party products built on top of it, and so much that we've learned from being able to build on a first-party platform. It's just pretty incredible stuff. So.
Well, I love that answer. One, because it just shows how unified Microsoft is. It shows the one Microsoft, and I think it's a perfect way to close out this session for today. Simon, I personally have always looked up to you. I am so thankful for your time today and for just giving us the quick overview of where we're at and where we're going with Intune, SCCM, and now Endpoint Manager. So for everybody that called in today, thank you for joining another episode of The Current Status. Teresa, Simon, thank you again for your time today. This was really fun and very educational. Everybody, enjoy the rest of your day. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.